It is 1:30, Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra says he will resign after weeks of protests over accusations of wrongdoing. Mr. Thaksin made the announcement on national television. He also said he would serve as acting Prime Minister until his replacement is chosen. The opposition reacted to the announcement by saying that Mr. Thaksin should resign immediately. The organizers of huge street protests said they would call for more demonstrations if he does not leave office soon. Mr. Thaksin's party won about 57% of the vote in elections 2 days earlier, but opposition parties boycotted the election. French police have clashed with protesters in the latest demonstrations against a new youth jobs law. Demonstrators in Paris threw rocks and large objects at police. Television showed police firing tear gas into a crowd. Officials reported about 200 arrests. Earlier, French labor organizations said at least 2 million people have joined marches and strikes across the country. The demonstrators are protesting a new law that makes it easy for companies to dismiss young workers. Supporters of immigrants in the United States are calling for a nationwide boycott on May 1st. The boycott is meant to pressure Congress into giving illegal immigrants the right to gain citizenship. On that Monday, immigrant rights supporters plan to stay home from work or school. They also say they will not buy or sell anything. Supporters of immigrant rights held large demonstrations across the nation in recent weeks. More than 10,000 people gathered outside the Federal Immigration Office in New York City on Saturday. Former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein is expected to make statements under oath at his trial Wednesday. He faces charges for the 1982 killings of more than 140 Shiites in the Iraqi village of Dajjal. He has admitted that he gave the orders that led to the killings. He said the orders were legal. In other news, lawyers for the Iraqi government have announced a second trial for Saddam Hussein. He now faces new charges of crimes against humanity and genocide, the systematic destruction of a group of people. The charges are linked to Iraqi government actions against Kurds during the 1980s. The actions include the murder of thousands of civilians in the village of Halabja. Bahrain says the owner of a boat that overturned off the coast of the country last week is being held for questioning on charges of murder. 57 people died in the accident. Government lawyers say the boat owner did not have a permit to operate the boat. They also said the owner told the captain to sail, even though the owner knew the boat carried too many passengers. The owners of the boat have said that it carried more than the safe limit of 100 passengers. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. American lawmaker Tom DeLay has announced plans to leave the United States House of Representatives within the next few months. Mr. DeLay told Fox Television that he will give up his seat in Congress and not seek re-election in November. He had served as the leader of the majority Republican Party in the House until several months ago. Mr. DeLay lost his position after he was charged with violating Texas election laws. Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan is appealing for national unity after violence in Kurdish areas of the country. Mr. Erdogan said he would not give in to political violence. He also rejected talks with the main Kurdish political group until it openly condemns the Kurdish Workers' Party, or PKK. Recently, at least 16 people have been killed in clashes between Kurds and security forces in southeastern Turkey. The unrest started after a funeral for 14 members of the PKK. Turkish security forces killed the party members. The PKK is banned in Turkey. United Nations Secretary-General Kofi Annan says he plans to speak with Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. Mr. Annan's office says he regrets that Sudan refused to let UN official Jon Egeland fly over Darfur on his way to Chad. Mr. Egeland had planned a trip to eastern Chad to visit camps for Sudanese refugees. The UN Security Council also expressed concern. A Sudanese diplomat called the incident a misunderstanding. He also said Sudan approved the UN official's trip this week. He said the government later asked Mr. Egeland to delay his travel for security reasons. 6 former Bosnian Serb military officers say they are not guilty of genocide charges. The charges are linked to a Serb attack on Srebrenica in 1995. About 8,000 Muslim men and boys were killed. The suspects answered the charges Tuesday at the War Crimes Court at The Hague. The 6 had all surrendered to the court to face legal action. A suspected member of Al-Qaeda has appeared before a military court at the United States Navy base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Abdul Zahir is accused of throwing a small bomb at a car carrying 3 reporters. The Afghan prisoner made no statement to the court about whether he considered himself guilty of the charges. Government lawyers say that Mr. Zahir worked as a language expert for Al-Qaeda. He also carried money for the group and helped plot attacks. Also this week, the military court at Guantanamo Bay announced dates for the trials of a Canadian, an Ethiopian, and a Yemeni. Only 10 of the almost 500 prisoners at the military prison have been charged with crimes. Briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra says he will resign from office to help end the country's political crisis. French police have clashed with protesters as more than 2 million people protested a new jobs law. And in the United States, supporters of immigrants are calling for a nationwide boycott on May 1st. And that's the news in VOA Special English. From Washington, Jim Tedder reporting.